A bunch of college friends heads out to West Virginia for a camping trip. Among the group are Allison, Chad, Chloe, Chuck, Jason, the Red Power Ranger, Naomi, Todd, and Mitch. On the way, they stop at a small gas station to grab some beer. There, they run into two locals, Tucker and Dale, two harmless hillbillies who've just bought an old, worn-down cabin near a secluded lake to use as their dream vacation spot. Dale spots Allison and immediately develops a crush. Encouraged by Tucker to talk to her, Dale makes an awkward attempt at small talk. Unfortunately, his nervous and intense approach ends up scaring the group off. "Man, I told you I'm hopeless with girls," Dale mutters. Ignoring a warning from the local sheriff about the dangers of the area, Tucker and Dale continue on to their cabin. Despite its rundown state, they're thrilled and start fixing it up, excited about making it their own. Back at the camp, Chad shares a gruesome local legend about a past massacre on Memorial Day. A group of college kids were slaughtered in those very woods by a group of hillbillies. Only one survivor lived to tell the tale. The story unsettles the group. Later, as Tucker and Dale enjoy some beer while fishing, tensions rise. Chad, who's clearly into Allison, gets rejected. When the group heads to the lake for a swim, Allison spots Tucker and Dale watching and panics. She slips, hits her head, and begins to drown. Tucker and Dale rush to save her, pulling her out of the water. But from a distance, her friends misinterpret the rescue as a kidnapping and run off in terror. Allison wakes up in Tucker and Dale's cabin the next morning, disoriented and frightened, assuming she's been abducted. But the truth quickly becomes clear. Tucker and Dale are actually kind-hearted guys. They even bring her breakfast and explain what happened. Meanwhile, her friends are frantically searching the forest. Chuck assumes the worst and thinks the hillbillies have mutilated Allison. Jason discovers the cabin, and Dale calmly tells Allison that her friends abandoned her and he and Tucker just helped. She's surprised by Dale's gentleness and starts to feel at ease. Still thinking Tucker and Dale are dangerous, the group sends Mitch to make contact. At the same time, Tucker is cutting wood and unknowingly saws into a beehive. Swarmed by bees, he runs around flailing with his chainsaw, causing Mitch to believe he's under attack. Mitch flees in panic and ends up dying by accident, without ever realizing there was no threat. As Dale bonds with Allison, Tucker shows up, his face swollen from bee stings. He says he saw one of her friends running and assumes it was because of the bees. Dale offers to help Allison find the others, but her friends now think Tucker and Dale murdered Mitch. Chad convinces the others they're in a life-or-death battle and that it's survival of the fittest. While Tucker and Dale attempt to find and reassure the students, the group believes they're being hunted. Dale leaves a note marked with an X. Later, while digging a latrine with Allison, her friends spot them and assume she's being forced to dig her own grave. They rush to save her, though from nothing. Todd attacks with a makeshift spear, but Allison warns Dale and he accidentally knocks her out with his shovel during the chaos. She's fine, but Todd meets a tragic end. Meanwhile, Tucker is casually throwing logs into a wood chipper when Mike charges at him. Startled, Tucker ducks and Mike accidentally dives straight into the machine. Tucker tries to save him, but it's too late. Dale takes Allison back inside while Tucker tells her what happened. Dale thinks the group is part of some strange suicide pact. Tucker figures they might be trying to kill Allison too. Dale suggests calling the police, but Tucker worries they'll be blamed for the students' deaths. They decide to clean up the scene to avoid suspicion. Most of the group wants to escape except Chad, who insists on staying and fighting. Chuck brings back the sheriff and tells him about the supposed murders. Just then, the cop arrives to find Tucker and Dale pulling Mike's body from the wood chipper. They try to explain, but the sheriff isn't buying it. Dale insists Allison can clear things up and takes the officer inside. Unfortunately, the cabin is in such poor condition that a loose beam ends up impaling the sheriff by accident. Outside, the students see his lifeless body and assume the worst. Chuck grabs the sheriff's gun to fire at Tucker and Dale but fumbles with the safety. Dale helpfully points it out and Chuck accidentally shoots himself. Then Chad shows up, takes the gun and opens fire. He starts blasting the cabin where Tucker and Dale are hiding and even kidnaps Dale's dog. Arming himself with a nail gun, Tucker gives it to Dale to help distract the group while he sneaks around to rescue the dog. Tucker hides but is soon found and knocked unconscious by Chad. He finds himself tied to a tree. Chad, seeking revenge for Mike's death, even though Tucker wasn't responsible, brutally attacks him with an axe. Allison regains consciousness and Dale explains that her friends are acting like maniacs. They're trying to kill Tucker and even took his dog. It's like they all lost their minds at the same time, he says. Just then, her friends arrive outside the cabin. Allison tries to reassure Dale, saying she'll go out and talk to them. She believes this might just be a big misunderstanding. As she leaves, Allison notices something alarming. One of her friends has nailed a note to the door using Tucker's severed fingers. She's horrified, unable to grasp why her friends would go to such extremes. Determined to help, Dale grabs a machete and prepares to track down Tucker. Before he leaves, Allison explains that her friends probably assumed she was being held hostage, especially since Tucker and Dale didn't exactly look friendly when they first met. Dale takes offense but insists on rescuing Tucker anyway, saying because that's what heroes do. He eventually finds Tucker tied up but ends up triggering a deadly trap. Barely surviving, Dale sighs, "Never thought I'd be thankful to be from back home." Meanwhile, Chad and Naomi break into the cabin, searching for Allison. She quickly tells them that Tucker and Dale haven't harmed her at all, but Chad refuses to believe it. He wants to burn the whole place down. Allison begs them to listen. This is all a massive mistake, but Naomi accuses her of developing Stockholm Syndrome. Thinking Allison is now sympathizing with her so-called captors, Chad becomes aggressive, confronting Allison. But just in time, Tucker and Dale burst in to defend her, trying to de-escalate the madness. Allison suggests everyone sit down and talk it out over a cup of tea. But that doesn't sit well with Chad. "I can't drink tea, it messes with my asthma," he snaps. He then shares a grim revelation. His father was killed during the infamous Memorial Day massacre, the same story he had recounted earlier. According to Chad, his mother barely escaped, but was mentally scarred for life. She was institutionalized before Chad was even born. Everything he knows about that horrific night came from his grandmother. Allison is baffled. "I mean, thank you for sharing that, but what does it have to do with this?" Dale chimes in, confused. "I didn't even kill a fish, man." Right then, Jason and Chloe arrive, trying to make sense of the chaos. Jason charges in to attack Tucker but fails miserably. "Well, at least we tried," someone mutters in the background. Chad, now completely unhinged, goes after Dale. Tucker jumps in to help, but Chad hurls a gas lantern, setting Jason on fire. Chloe rushes to douse the flames, but mistakenly pours gasoline instead, causing an even bigger blaze. With the cabin engulfed in flames, Tucker, Dale, and Allison manage to escape just in time. Chad, though burned and more deranged than ever, survives. Now disfigured and completely out of his mind, he swears revenge. He gives chase, determined to kill them all, but during the frantic escape, Dale, being his usual clumsy self, causes them to crash their getaway vehicle. When Dale regains consciousness, he quickly realizes that Allison is missing, and Tucker is badly hurt. Tucker explains that he tried to stop Chad from taking her but failed. Despite his injuries, he gives Dale a heartfelt pep talk, urging him to go after Allison and be the hero she needs. Determined, Dale pulls himself together. With his dog leading the way, he sets off to rescue her. Meanwhile, Chad has Allison tied up and taunts her, accusing her of betraying their group. "You've gone full hillbilly," he sneers. But just then, Dale shows up wielding a chainsaw. He finds Allison and tries to free her, but Chad powers up a machine, ready to slice her in two. In a desperate move, Dale uses the chainsaw to block the device. Chad lunges in to stop him, and a brutal fight breaks out between the two. With no time to lose, Dale hurls an axe to stop the machine before it hurts Allison. He then grabs her, and the two run for safety. They end up in an old sawmill office, where they stumble upon a collection of newspaper clippings. What they find shocks them. Chad's father wasn't a victim of the massacre from years ago, he was one of the hillbilly murderers responsible for it. Just then, Chad bursts in. Dale confronts him with the newspaper, pointing out his father's photo. Unable to accept the truth, Chad flies into a rage, but as he moves to attack, Dale hits him with a box of chamomile tea, which sets off Chad's asthma. Struggling to breathe, Chad collapses and falls out the window, seemingly to his death. Later, the police, along with a news crew, arrive at the destroyed cabin. They conclude the bizarre string of deaths was the result of a suicide pact and a lone madman, Chad. Meanwhile, Tucker recovers in the hospital. His fingers have been reattached, though not exactly in the right order. Dale drops by to visit and brings him a beer. Tucker asks if Dale ever worked up the courage to ask Allison out, and Dale happily reveals they're going bowling later that evening. That night, during their date at the alley, Dale gives some advice to a shy hillbilly nearby, encouraging him to just be himself and approach the girls he's eyeing. "You know what, you're right," the guy says, standing up with new confidence. As Dale and Allison sit together, they finally admit their feelings and share a kiss. In the background, the other hillbilly accidentally knocks a girl out cold while trying to talk to her, starting yet another awkward misunderstanding. Allison gasps while saying, "Should we help her?" Dale just grins, saying, "Hell no." And that's how the story wraps up.